Okay, so our next topic for this week is about linear functions. So we will not focus on this topic, but I will give you a brief introduction about linear functions. Okay, so if we recall from the previous lesson, a function is defined as a relation such that each value from the set of the x coordinates of the ordered pairs is called the domain is associated with exactly one value from the set of the y coordinates of the ordered pair. That is what we call the range. Okay, so in a linear function, one variable is dependent on the other variable. The independent variable is x, while the dependent variable is y, where both variables are of degree 1. So in a linear function, y equals f of x equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So, si y and f of x, they are just equal. So, equal na sila. Gin-change na lang ang y into a function of x. So, which of the following equations are functions or are linear functions? Okay, so we have here for our first function is, so all given equations here are functions, but not all equations here are in linear form. So let us determine which of the following is a linear function. Okay, so for number 1, we have f of x equals x plus 2. And then for number 2, we have f of x equals x squared minus 1. And then for number 3, we have f of x equals 3x plus 7. And then for number 4, we have 7x minus y equals 5. So let's have here the answers. So for number 1, which is f of x equals x plus 2, is a linear function. How? Because it is of the form f of x equals mx plus b, where m is our slope, which is 1, and then b, our y-intercept, is 2. And take note, the degree of exponent sa aton nga x is 1, and also sa aton nga f of x is 1. Or ang aton nga y equals f of x. So take note ha, nga si y equal na siya sa f of x. Okay, so kung butang ko na di siya y equals x plus 2, so still a linear function. So kung ginislan ko lang siya either y or f of x. Okay, then we have f of x equals x squared minus 4 is not a linear function because the degree of x is 2. So take note, dapat ang exponent sa aton f of x or y, and then exponent sa aton nga x dapat must be 1. So kung more than 1 na nadaiya nga exponent, degree of exponent, then that is not considered a linear function. So for number 3, we have f of x equals 3x plus 7 is a linear function since the degree of exponent of x here is 1, and then our slope is 3, and the intercept or b is 7. And then we have here 7x minus y equals 5 is a linear function because it can be written as y equals 7x plus 5, where m equals 7 and b equals 5. So how about if it is in the form xy equals 2x plus 3. Can we consider this as a linear function? So take note, we cannot consider this as a linear function because the degree of exponent for xy is 2. So kung i-combine nyo ang degree of exponent nila, so yung exponent is 1 and then sa piyak diri is 1. So kung i-combine mo ang degree of exponent, that is 2. So hindi sila linear function. So we often graph linear functions using a set of ordered pairs. They can also be graphed using a table of values, intercepts, or slope. So parehas na ni siya sa aton nga mag-graph kita bala sa aton nga linear functions, the same appearance dun sila sa aton nga linear equation. So what is the difference between linear functions and linear equations? So the difference between them is sa aton nga linear equations, we have a certain value of x that will make our equations equal, while sa aton nga linear functions, we need a certain input to determine a certain output of y. Okay, so we have here example number 1, graph f of x equals 3x plus 1 using a table of values, identify its domain and range. So for the solution, we use using the table of values, assign values for x, then solve for f of x. So sa aton x, since this is an independent variable, again, di ba sa aton previous topic, magambal kita independent variable. So, any value lang na daan po dito karon sa aton nga x-axis. So, ang gin-choose ko, for example, is negative 2, 0, and 2. And then, its corresponding f of x. So, if we substitute negative 2 to our equation, and then the value of f of x now is negative 5. Okay, so let me show you the solution. So, f of negative 2. So, kung aton input is negative 2, and then ang aton nga output is dapat negative 5. So, ang 3x plus 1, amo ni siya kumbaga ang aton nga machine. So, amo ni siya ang program sang machine ta kung how it process our input. So, we substitute there x, which is negative 2 plus 1 equals, okay. So, 3 times negative 2, that is negative 6. Negative 6 plus 1, that is negative 5. So, that's why nakuha tani si negative 5. So, same also, you substitute 0 sa aton nga x variable, sa aton nga function. And then, the value of f of 0, that is 1. So, gin-substitute ko lang ha, sa aton nga x, f of x. Okay, so nakita nyo niyang x na nga variable sa ato ni function, islan nyo lang ni sa 0. And then, ang iyang result is 1. So, kung islan ta naman ng x, if we substitute 2 from our function, and then, the result is 7. So, the graph of f of x equals 3x plus 1 is a line passes through the points negative 2, negative 5, 0, 1, 2, 7. So the line extends indefinitely in both directions since there are infinitely many solutions. Therefore, the domain and range is the set of all real numbers. So take note, magubra ka mo ganit line. Dapat may na siya arrowheads because it symbolizes that it extends indefinitely because that is a line. So ang line, wala na siya naga-end, naga-extend, na siya naga-extend. So kung mag-graph, we use this, our ordered pair. So, may siya si x. So, if x is negative 2 and then the value of f of x or the y is negative 5. So, may siya ito niya f of x or y, ha? And then, naman siya sa ito niya x-axis. Okay, so if x is negative 2 here, and then our f of x is negative 5, so din siya makita niya part, and then we make a point, and then we plot 0, 1, so dili siya nga part, and then we plot 2, 7, and then you make a straight line. So that is now the graph of f of x equals 3x plus 1. Okay, next is graph y equals 7 minus x using the intercepts. So for the intercepts, we have here, let x equals 0. So we have y equals 7 minus 0. So ang aton nga function or equation is this. So tanan nga x variable nga makita niyo, you make it equal 0. So we have now y equals 7 minus 0, that is y equals 0. So the y-intercept here is 0, 7. And to solve for the x-intercept, let y equal to 0. So it's just the opposite. You change all the y variables into 0. So we have now 0 equals 7 minus x, and then you simplify. So by adding both sides of the equation by x, para ma-remove ni si negative x, mabutan siya sa left side, so we just add x. So we have now x equals 7. And our x-intercept is 7, 0. So to graph this, we need to plot 0, 7 and 7, 0 sa aton yung Cartesian plane. So we have here the 7, 0, and then we have here the 0, 7. Okay, and then you make a straight line to connect the points. And this is now the graph of our y equals 7 minus x. Okay, so remember, a linear function is written in the form y equals f of x equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. And then the graph of linear function is a line. So take note of that from the word itself, linear. So ang graph is a line. A function can be graphed using ordered pairs, table of values, intercepts, or slope. The domain and range of a linear function are all real numbers. So take note of that the domain and range of a linear function is always a set of real numbers. So maghambal kita gani a set of real numbers, tanan nga numbers nga makit-an ta sa aton nga x and y axis, pwede na siya ma-substitute sa aton nga function. Okay, so that's all. If you have questions, can you message me to our group chat, and thank you. Okay, so by the way, this will be your activity for week 16 lesson 2, which is you will make a stained glass window using a illustration board. Make it unique. So may ara ka mo da some criteria sa inyong modules, can follow it. Okay, so make it creative. That's all.